And joining us now is Randy Atwood. He is the managing editor at the Space Quarterly magazine. So, Randy, what was on the vessel that crashed, and do we know how this crash happened?
Well, Amanda, this was an unmanned spacecraft. They call it a Progress. It's launched on more or less the same rocket that sends astronauts up and back down to the space station. So it was full of fuel and supplies and air. So it's something that they would have liked to have had, but it wasn't critical. The critical thing is that now, as you mentioned, they're not going to send the next crew up because it was more or less the same rocket that took the Progress up that failed that would take the next crew up, and they want to know what happened before they do that.
And so what does this mean for the crew members that are out there? When can we expect them to be coming back?
Well, no one's in danger here. I mean,
okay.
if you go up to the space station, you go on a Soyuz, which is a Russian rocket, and your Soyuz stays with you when you're up there, just in case you have to leave in an emergency. So the problem here is the Soyuz have an expiry date. They can only last about 6 months in orbit. So the crew that was launched last April, they have to come back next month sometime, and they'll probably delay them a week or two. That leaves just 3 people up on the space station. That's okay. They can stay on there. But if the problem isn't fixed by November, the 3 astronauts up on the space station, their Soyuz will expire, their expiry date will go, they have to come back down. So the concern is if they can't fix this problem and send the next crew up, the next 3 astronauts, then they may in fact have to have no one on the space station. And that's a little risky. Not that they can't do it. They can remote control the space station, but if something goes wrong, there is more risk that something bad could happen.
Okay, so from a big picture perspective, what does this mean for the Russian space program, especially considering that NASA's program is somewhat extinct, if that's fair to say?
Well, it's not extinct. I mean, it means that the shuttle has stopped. The Americans have no way to get up to the space station except for using the Russians. They're working on fixing that. What it does mean is that, the Russians, they actually made a big deal of this, when the space shuttle stopped flying, they actually put out an announcement saying it's now the era of the Soyuz and the Russian rocket technology, and the first rocket they send up, it goes kablooey.
Right.
So it was rather embarrassing for them. But we're still part of the space station. We have an astronaut who's planning to go. This will all be delayed. I foresee that they may in fact have an unmanned period of the space station. It will be embarrassing for everyone involved, including the American politicians who let this happen, where you had to shut down the space shuttle before you had another way to get up to the space station.
Randy Atwood, the managing editor of Space Quarterly magazine, thanks very much.
You're right.